Hey, everybody. Welcome to ICC's Banter Blitz. I'm Grandmaster Joel Benjamin. This is our little monthly get-together for the month of August. Usually I have it later in the month, but I scheduled it earlier for August, so hope everybody's ready. And we got a lot of people anxious to play. I see a few people queued up. And this is always fun for me, as you guys no, if you've done this before, I like to experiment in the opening, and I have a whole new set of variations to play today. Um, so this should be fun. So we have Indiana Fats up first, and of course, this is a take on the classic billiards player in Minnesota Fats. All right, so I'm kind of out of my depth here. Knight f6, that's an interesting move. I didn't think about it much, but probably a lot of people take that knight on f6, and if e takes f6, there's a weakness on d5, and otherwise, if g takes f6, of course, that compromises kingside, so bishop f6 is a move that white can try, but of course there's downside to it, that you give up the bishop pair. All right, so now I'm trying to create some action as diagonal, also attacking the pawn on c5, which I have a feeling, the modern way of doing this is probably to ignore the pawn on c5, because now they find that, taking pawns in the opening like that, usually you lose a lot of time. And Indiana Fats defends the diagonal rather than the pawn, which I think is the right way to go. And now he's getting ready to castle. So one modern way of playing this might be to play h4, but I think that's a bit too much. So what am I going to do? I think I'm going to take this pawn. Yeah, I'm going to take this pawn. Not that I think I'm going to get away with this cleanly, but at least I took a pawn. So if he plays d6 is a question, can I play e takes d6? Because he takes my bishop, I can take the knight on c7 with a tempo on the queen. But then he can take the pawn, or maybe he can move the queen to attack my knight. So it's certainly a scenario which may have me sacrificing an exchange, which I would at least get, some compensation with the bishop gone. But of course, I won't have my dark square bishop. So it's possible that the better thing to do would be to retreat. Yeah, okay, he plays d6. I mean, maybe he's listening to me. But I think I'm just going to retreat. Well, sometimes you can't, you can't always play for the crowd, at least right away. You got to play some safe. So now my bishop is actually defended. So e takes d6 is a threat. Actually, that's kind of important, because if he tries to put pressure with a move like bishop g4, bishop f5, the fact that I'm not really pinned is very helpful. And because of that, I may just come out of this scot-free with the pawn, but still it's very early. Now, of course, I'm threatening a discovery. He's probably got to take that. And then will I take back with knight or bishop? Probably there's nothing. Well, I don't want to say probably there's nothing wrong with taking with the knight. My spidey sense kind of tells me it's safer to take with the bishop and not allow any pins. But Indiana Fat's having a good think over this. Queen d5. Well, that's a little bit clever, because he gets out of the range of knight takes c6. But I have a feeling there's going to be other stuff. Bishop c4 comes to mind, and that looks good to me. I'm just going to play it. I mean, there might have been a possibility of something else, but I think this. I just play queen e2 now, and that defends everything. So basically, I just got a couple of tempi in development, and because of that, unless there's some unexpected trick, I think this should be very good for me. Now, of course, my knight is pinned. Maybe that's the only problem I can see. That if he takes on e5, that seems simple, but I am threatening to take on f7. So he goes away. But now I can take the knight. Well, yeah, now I can take the knight. I'm not sure that I should, but I think I can. So, I mean, if he takes my bishop, I might just win another pawn. Checkers, and then I think just move my rook. And the thing is, I'm attacking his other bishop with my knight. So I can't see how I can lose anything here. If he attacks my knight, I take his bishop, and if he moves his bishop, I take the other bishop, and 2 pawns to the good. Yeah, and I'm not going to worry about bishops opposite colors too much. Usually that's not a real big problem. And here, I'm actually not that worried about this check, strangely enough. I was actually more concerned about b5, chasing my bishop. I kind of like to dominate his knight with my bishop, because you see he does that, I'm just going to take it. Well, that's what I'm saying I'm going to do. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, because now there's no bishops opposite colors. And so now the pawns should just be pawns. Should I see? Oh, I forgot the time's really running down, but so I'm down into 40 seconds. But he's even lower. But of course, when the times get down, then I have to do a little bit more chalking and a little less talking. Okay, that's defended. So just keep that there. Okay, h5. Just don't want my knight driven away. So stop that. Let's take the open file. And now maybe start maneuvering my knight. Oh, could have just gone to the H file, yeah? Let's do that now. Let's do that now. Ooh, checkers. Yeah, well, he got low on time, and okay, he resigned. All right, thanks, Indiana Fats. That was an interesting game. The pawn sacrifice, that was the type of thing that the grandmasters do, but maybe it was not quite sufficient because I was able to defend everything. So now we have Texas Nurse up, and these are my instructions today. B6. Again, my friend Ed Feldman sent these to me, so I think that's all he told me. B6. Yeah. So very light instructions with black. Okay. All right, let's go for a double fianchetto. All right, so he's going for a kind of a closed Sicilian setup. D3, that's a very conservative move, because I mean, there's no rush to move the D pawn at all, but I guess he's going to go with that. So we're basically heading into a closed Sicilian. And if you think that the bishop on b7 is a little unusual, it's actually quite a good line for black to do that. So I think particularly effective against bishop e3, actually. So this is working out okay. I mean, if you didn't look at the box, you would know that this started out as an Owens defense. So with black, and we're kind of waiting a little bit to see what his setup is. H4. Okay, so all right, I think I'll block that. One thing is he played that with his knight already on E2, so that means he can't play the knight to G5. And yeah, now he plays F4, so this is a little bit unusual how he's going about doing this. Creating a little bit of a weakness. I mean, from a strategic pawn structure point of view, I kind of like this for black, because that's one of the key ideas of this way of playing for black, is that when F4 comes to block with F5. But I think the insertion of the moves of the H pawn might help me even more, because my knight is going to come out to F6, and then that can go to G4, but he can't exploit the G4 square. But of course, one variable is the fact that he didn't castle, so now he castled queenside, and who knows what that's going to mean. I think even my king is on the king side is going to be pretty well protected. All right, D4. And I could have also done this last move, but I think I'm going to go knight A5. I feel like I have pretty good square control here. Good control of the light squares. But, sometimes you have a position you think, yeah, you got lots of square control, and then your opponent hits you with a tactic. So as long as the queens are on the board and it's a middle game, you never know, right? All right, so I can interpolate the move knight C4 and grab his bishop, which is tempting. But I'm not going to do it, although possibly I should. But I'll just recapture. And now the threat, of course, is very strong, but he's going to have to defend it. Uh-oh. I think that's a blunder, because now B2 is loose, so I can take his knight. He's looking at this, stewing over this position, because I'm sure he recognized right away he blundered. But I can take the knight, or I can play knight E4. Knight E4 is really trying to take everything. My natural inclination is just to take the knight, just not to be too greedy. You get B2, but maybe he can take back. So all right, let's see. Knight E4. He can't take my knight. B2 is mate. Knight C7 check. Well, I could even take it if I want, but I can move my king. So I think knight E4. I can't imagine what he can do against that. Okay, so knight E4. That's tough. He's stewing over this position while I decide whether to take the knight, or knight C4 is also probably winning. I think he had to play B3 in that position. But in general, I think the queenside castling, I don't know. I don't think it ever really seems to work out in the closed Sicilian. It just seems too easy for black to build up an attack. So let's see if he has anything. Queen B3, but this is mate. So that's that. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Texas Nurse. That was an interesting game, and a little closed Sicilian theory, as it turned out, even with B6 in the first move. But that's actually a pretty good line for black. It's not necessarily that well known with the double fianchetto. But, the idea of answering F4 with F5. But I think his timing was wrong. If he was going to play H4, he should have done it before knight E2. Sometimes, especially in Blitz, an idea pops up, but it pops up at the wrong moment. And so the moves don't fit together as well as you want them to. All right, so this is interposed check. I played last month. Okay, I have no instructions here, but I'm going to play f4 because maybe, well, what can I do? I mean, I could play without that move and try to play d4, but I'm not necessarily that big a fan of that kind of setup. But now what? See, the problem with this opening is the bishop, this light square bishop. So I'm just going to put it on b5, and I'm just prepared to trade it because it doesn't really fit in. It's got no place to go. Okay. I guess he wants it to recapture with a knight. That's fine. The problem is that that's not necessarily such a good plan against the fianchettoed bishop. In fact, in the Raslimo, one of the lines for white against e6 is to play b3, because now is the question, how is he going to develop his king side? Because the bishop on f8 can't easily move. I mean, there's various things he can try to fix this problem, but you know, Black would certainly love to just be able to play bishop e7 and castle. b5. Well, okay, he can do this, but it doesn't change anything. And I'm just going to develop the knight on d2. It's not so wonderful on d2, but it's not in the way of my bishop. Queen b6 is a move that you know, it's the kind of move you see a lot of low-rated players play, but I'll probably just play king h1. And there he on cue, but I could also play c4, but I'll just play king h1, get out of the way, and you know, he might be inclined to try to castle queenside. No, not a5. See, one of these things is like a master has this kind of position with Black, has that issue of how to develop the king side, and the master will try to figure out an immediate antidote to that. One thing he could have tried is d5, and if I didn't take it, he could play d4 and block the bishop, which I don't think is ideal, but at least to be able to develop. But, you know, below the master level, what a lot of people do is they just kind of put things off, you know. They just, like, you know, decide, okay, I'm not going to worry about this problem for a while. I'm going to make some moves on the queen side. But meanwhile, I just complete my development, and you know, and Black is not, and I think that's, you know, eventually he's going to have to pay the piper. Now, I think I just play knight c4, because if he takes it, I like taking with the d pawn. You know, usually I like to take towards the center, but in this case, open up the center. Okay, so he played queen back. And now, okay, why not f5? Because I'm completely developed. I have all the pieces out, and any opening of the center is going to be very good for me. So it's time. Yeah, okay. That doesn't bother me. I just go back. He could play a4 if he wants. That also doesn't affect anything. Okay, I'll take this way. Just because maybe that open d file could give me a little extra. I didn't really account so much for the fact that he can play e5, which he just did because he took my knight. So no longer have that extra attacker on e5. But one thing I could do is f6. I bet it's even playable to sacrifice on e5, knight e5, and queen d5, and then push the pawns. But I think that this seems most logical. Because if he takes it to something like knight h4, I don't even have to take back the pawn necessarily. The knight coming into f5, I think, will be crushing. And it's one of those, I'm going to play basically with this knight against the bishop and look at all those pawns in dark squares, which he can't really defend. Can't really do anything with the bishop or defend against my knight. I was going to play knight f5, but I'll start with this. Now he could try to castle queenside, but this is where that he, you know, if he does that, he might regret that he played all those moves, you know, on the queen side. Okay, I'm just going to take that knight, and then it's just gonna. I don't really need to do anything there, but just to crystallize it with my knight playing against the bishop. Maybe I'll go queen g7 and start taking stuff, collect some pawns. That h pawn would be very nice because then I'll have a passed pawn in the ending. If he wants to castle queenside, I wouldn't mind taking that f pawn and then maybe slipping over to the queen side. Yeah, it's true, it's a doubled pawn, but okay. All right, I'll start with knight f5, which threatens to take the bishop and take f6, and also h7 is still under attack. All right, but now this is even stronger. So that's why they say the threat is strong in the execution, because now there's a mate threat on g7. Well, maybe that isn't as strong as I thought it was going to be. Come to think of it, he does have a way out. Maybe I won't tell him just yet. Can make room for his king, though. Yeah, that d6. Now I have knight g7 and queen f7, a fancy way to win a pawn. But, it's sort of selling my position short slightly, I think. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to do this. Especially when your opponent is very low on time, sometimes the best thing to do is just to, play a couple of attacking moves. And let his flag fall, whatever. He did manage to kind of keep this going. Ooh. I think I'm going to interpolate that check. Things are pretty much falling. Good try. I did not see that move. But I don't think this should be a problem. Now, knight somewhere. Knight b7. Yeah, this is most accurate. Oh, he resigned. He resigned as I was reaching out for knight b7, and of course all the pop-ups came on the. I couldn't see my way to b7. All right, thank you. Interposed check. That was an interesting game. I think. Look, this is fun to play these games, but I'm a teacher by nature, so I like to try to give people some instruction, and that was like a typical kind of thing, where he had this problem and was developing, and he needed to find an immediate solution. Like for instance, f6 was even playable in the bishop b7, and instead he just sort of put it off, and the problem didn't go away. All right, so this is Moving Dutchman, who I've never played before. So we're getting some new guys, new blood, which I like. And this might, again turn into a kind of Sicilian. A4. Okay, I guess he just wants to make sure I don't get his bishop. But I kind of like the fact that he didn't, that he's not trying to blow me away with development. So I've gotten this far, and he makes it into a type of Sicilian, but I don't think that I'm not, really that worried in this type of position, because I have pretty good development at this point. Now, what do I do with my bishop? And am I worried about him playing knight b5? Bishop c5, knight b5. Do I have to worry about that? Should I play a6? Yeah, I'll just play a6. I mean, in the open Sicilian, there's always possibilities of the knight coming to b5. It's nice to get rid of that problem. I could take with the pawn here and play b5. I'm not sure that's the way to go, though. I'll just take with the bishop, because he does have the possibility of stuffing something to d5, but you can put a piece on d5. It doesn't necessarily bother me. I can, possibly ignore it. That's a strange move to me. I could take it, but I guess it's maybe prelude to bishop d5, but I think I would rather put the bishop on d5 right away. Also, I think he is now, I was going to say he's risking losing the a-pawn. The bishop b4, queen d4. I just noticed that move, and I don't like that so much because I don't want to give my g7 pawn. I spend so much time, just now talking about that guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a weird move, queen b8, and try to develop my bishop in conjunction with the queen. Yeah, notice it's possible for him to even play queen d4, which I hadn't considered, but okay, I could then offer it to queen trade. All right, I like that he has to breach his kingside somehow. Okay, h3, but now I have all those dark squares to work with. And I got out, so no more pieces coming to d5. Queen d4, I'm not so worried about. I'll just attack the queen. I could also try to trade those bishops. I can't tell offhand whether that's favorable or not. But all right, I'll just bring this rook over here. And bishop c3 might be a threat. It would win a pawn if he doesn't take with a pawn, but thing is, I'm kind of loath to give up that bishop. So I'm just going to go here for now. Also, it's a blitz game, and with all the banter, you have to make sure that you don't lose track of the time. And I'm sort of doing that a little bit because I need to pick up the pace a little bit. So I want to eventually clear things out on the C file and get my bishop out of there. Of course, it's not that easy to move the bishop out of the way with the pressure on the D pawn. So anyway, moving Dutchman is doing a pretty good job here, and I have to say I don't really have anything special here. All right, so maybe what I got to do is I got to introduce my knight. Say hello, but first I'm going to do one of these things, like when good players don't. My old friend Mike Wilder said, when good players don't know what to do, they play h4. Okay, still not attacking anything, so I'm not going to worry about it yet. But I have nice luft there, and I'm thinking about bringing my knight over if I can. All right, so now he's trying to take squares away, so maybe I can set up some counterattacking ideas. Part of me thinks I should try to trade queens, but also maybe I could try to get some counterattack going in there. But he does have everything just kind of covered, so I don't know. Rook f1. I'm not sure what that's about. I don't know. I'm just going to attack the knight because it's a move. But maybe my knight needs to maneuver and kind of got stuff in the way. How do I make this happen? I'm at an impasse, and I have to kind of make moves. So somehow this isn't really working for me. Yeah, knight d4. I don't know. I admit that I'm kind of swimming in this position. And I hung that guy, which was not good, and I'm low on time. So it looks like I got outplayed in this game. I just was not able to find a way to go forward, and now I'm kind of suffering here. Rook c6, that's not really a very desirable move, but And there's that terrible light that comes on. All right, I think I'm prepared here to sack an exchange. Yeah, not that I love this so much, but I feel like I have to create some action here. So I'm going to create some action. That's some pretty good action, but of course he's up in exchange and he has a passed A pawn. And also it looks like he's got everything covered. Oh, and then he's attacking stuff. Okay, this is that's not a pleasant development. He's just kind of covering everything, and okay, so this is not good at all. I think I just lost my queen there, right? I didn't see what else to do. So looks like I'm going down, and kind of deserved it, I have to say. Oops. Yeah. Okay. Good game. Yes, I do want to resign. Yeah. Yeah, hanging the bishop, that was the final indignity. Yeah, I just ran into a brick wall. I thought I got, I needed to probably just to trade that queen, the queen on d6. I could not maneuver my pieces around. So, yeah, I got outplayed in that game. Well done. All right, Syra. Okay, 1 second. All right. Sorry, I had to to put on the fan here because it's very warm. Oh, what do I do against e5? This. Yeah, this I'm not too happy about, I think. Yeah, this I'm not at all happy about. I don't like this way of playing for white. People do this against me, have done this against me, and have been somewhat successful, but seems kind of anti-positional. I never actually faced queen f3, but I don't know. Do you take this way? Okay, so if I play queen g3, I lose my queen. But that's definitely what I want to do. I want to put my queen there. Is there any way I can set that up? All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go develop my queen side. Bishop g5, okay. Interesting. So if I didn't mention it, this is Syra or Sarah, who I do believe I played before. Hey, I'm getting higher-rated players than usual, I think, which is a good thing, actually. Not that I really want masters and titled players, because then it's harder to fool around and do lots of talking and not much playing. But 16, 17, 1800, that's good. I'm good with that. All right, so trying to storm. Actually, Ed, I kind of like this. I kind of like this now. He'll be very proud. Okay. Do I go g5? I guess he wants to try to play h5 and clog. So what to do about that? All right, for now I'll just defend it. He did take a square away from his knight with that queen d7, so that can't come over. So I don't know, one possibility is that I could try to play h5 and then g5. All right, so That's what I'll do. Because a good plan would be G5, H5, and then somehow put a knight on F6. But my knight is so far away from F6 is the problem. The knight would just be on the wrong square. So I'm certainly like all revved up to go with the attack, but I don't know. I was more afraid that he would play F6, be proactive, and fight back on the king side, try to activate before I got a G5. I did lose my good attacking bishop, but now lines are getting open guaranteed, and I think that's going to be a big problem for him. I'd be surprised if he can defend. I guess he's got to play King H7. Looks like takes falls apart right away. Whoa. Well, see, now he's thinking about opening up the file for the rook. But I think I'll take this one. I've also got ideas of Queen F6 and mate on G7. I'm not sure what he's going to do about that idea. The problem is I'm not even going to take on G6. Okay, he blocked my queen. All right, that was good. That's a good move. All right. What if I attack that bishop? Then he can move his king. And then he can move his king. I'd say he's got some interesting ideas here to try to. But what if I play a very simple move here? Just trying to go to F6 and mate him. What's defense? Move the king maybe. I would have to go to H7 and then Queen F6. And I can't imagine how he can defend this. Mate on G7, threaten. So what's Rook G8 or King H6? But now this one. And now I do. I lied. I am going to open the file. You'll see. Now I will open the file, and it's basically going to be checkmate when I do. It's funny, huh? But only if it's checkmate. Bishop H3. Well, I was thinking G7 is not actually mate, so which way will I do it? Well, he resigned. Yeah, of course. All right, interesting game. Sarah or Syra. I never exactly know how to pronounce some of these handles. But, yeah, I think he needed to play F6 at some point before I got in G5. Aslan 777. Okay. D4. I believe it's this. The black games may be an adventure today. Bishop F4. If I had a dime for every time somebody played Bishop F4 in some position against me, I'd have a lot of dimes. But that's modern chess. Is that everybody? These systems have become very popular. It used to be like, okay, you're just wimping out and not trying for an advantage. But usually white wants to make room for the bishop with H3, and the way you figure it out is if black is realistically threatening to play knight H5, that is a good moment to play H3. A lot of amateurs play H3 when it's totally unnecessary and end up losing a tempo when they could get away with it. I think a lot of non-masters, let's say, who play systems like Bishop F4 like to play them because they don't have to think about their opening moves, especially because so many people play rapid chess now. So many tournaments are 30 minutes or faster that there's this great incentive to play very quickly. But I don't think it's really the right way to play. To just try to play mindlessly in the opening. I remember a game years ago, kind of similar, Karpov Spassky were. Sorry, I think it was Spassky Karpov. I think Karpov got in knight h5, and then he just let that sit there for a long time. Okay, I think I can play c5 here. Why not? Well, why not? He can play d5, but okay, then I'll have to deal with that. But at some point, I have to try to grab some space. d5, yeah. Well, I'm kind of outgunned in the middle, so I'm going to play this. But I kind of, when I was young, I really liked to play these positions with closed centers and then maneuver around. I was, pretty good at them. I got a very good education in closed positions when I was young. So I can start to think about even putting the knight in f4. Yeah. I will put the knight in f4. I'm not sure it's the right thing to do, but I think it's not bad. If he takes it, then I get a nice square in e5. And also my bad bishop, not really so bad anymore. That's the thing about a bad bishop. When a bad bishop breaks outside the chain, sometimes it becomes a pretty good bishop. Because suddenly, see, if you have all your pawns on black squares, especially in a closed position, that means your opponent probably has his pawns on light squares. So if your bishop gets loose, that means that that the opponent has pawns in the other color, so it's got nothing blocking it. So it can suddenly become active. All right, I'll just defend that for the moment. And then I didn't really need that move so much, but okay. Queen e7. Maybe delay knight e5, wait for him to move his bishop, and then play knight e5. Okay. Yeah, okay, now I'll do it. Because now that otherwise the bishop would come out on the other diagonal. He could still try it, but he'll lose some time. So now I have ideas to bring my rook in, and then bishop c8. When you have when the bishop's on b7, that diagonal is blocked. Usually the thing to do is just to come back out. Still the position very closed, but I think very comfortable for me, because this is a position where actually I think black is starting to feel the advantage of the bishop pair. My bad bishop is beautiful and also unopposed. That's another thing. When your bad bishop breaks out and your opponent has traded off his good bishop, then suddenly, yeah. So you can imagine also, like, if his light squared bishop were on f5, well, I think it wouldn't really quite do as much, but it would certainly be a significant change. So I'm not even in a hurry to do anything here. Like, I could start taking pawns. Well, actually, why shouldn't I start taking pawns? Well, he will get some counterplay. But otherwise, now if I play bishop c8, he's going to trade, which I don't really like so much. All right, I'm going to play this, which I don't think is actually a good move, but I have a very large advantage on the clock, so I'm just going to just set up that I could try to play some fast moves. I don't necessarily need to take anything. Sometimes the threat is stronger than the execution. Yeah, well, that was the downside of it, is that now the bishop can come into e6 before I can kick him away, which is slight bobble on my part, I have to admit. In fact, probably well, he didn't come into e6. Well, that was a surprise. I don't know if he didn't see it, or he thought I had a trick up my sleeve or whatever. But now everything is according to plan. This was the plan. Yeah, and now Now see. I don't even. Oh, well, that allows this. That was time pressure. Because I have this break f5, but I didn't really want to play f5 because then when he takes, he gets the e4 square, and his pieces start to get some room. So this is my ideal. But of course, he could have played bishop e6, and it wouldn't have been as impressive. I might have had to trade bishops. Yeah, I think still a large edge for black. All right, thank you, Aslan 777. There we got to see some maneuvering in a closed position, and here we have Virtuoso. D5 played right away. I've never seen anybody do that. I mean, I guess he didn't really think he was going to get in Queen E5, did he? But I mean, I've never seen anybody do that to kind of try to play a center counter against B3. But I mean, nobody plays B3 in the center counter, but I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be so horrible. Okay, so now another one of these positions where what to do with a bishop. That's why A6, because it's kind of hard to really find a place for the bishop. I could fianchetto. Actually, I probably will fianchetto because the long diagonal is open. So that seems to make sense, to just stick the bishop there, and it's not in the way. And my bishops are actually both on pretty good diagonals. Now, if he plays knight d4, I can play h3 anyway, I believe. Right on cue. And I'm going to do it anyway because I'm not worried about my h-pawn. I'm going to take his b-pawn. Fine by... Oh, well, he takes that way. Okay, well, then everything's good. I don't think he's going to take d2 because the b7. But now I'm developing a big edge in development. See that last maneuver he played? He just lost some time. He moved a developed piece a second time, and then he traded two developed pieces. Well, he traded for two developed pieces, but he spent time to make a trade which just brought my queen into play. Now there's maybe some vague threats. Knight f6 is not really a threat because he could take with the knight, but if he goes knight h6, then knight f6 wins. But actually, how does he develop his pieces? I mean, there's f5, but that's pretty desperate. I can just trade queens to knight g5, or I could play queen check, and then if he plays g6, his rook is hanging, so my queen can just move anywhere. So yeah, it's another game where my opponent is running into a situation of having some trouble developing the bishop. Hence the genius of b3. Well, all the grandmasters now are playing b3 on move 1. It's become super popular suddenly, so maybe there's something to it. All right, knight e7. That's the best move because the knight defends the queen. And what to do? The knight's... Well, okay, I'm going to be a little subtle here. I want to break open the center with d4, but if I chase the queen, then he would play knight c6 next move. But you see, I played the rook move first, not chasing the queen, so then I get this move in. Yeah. See, that's why I like to not just blitz off my moves to try to win the game. I mean, I could win all the games if I blitzed off quick moves. You're welcome, Virtuoso, and obviously be faster than low-rated players. But I want to try to impart some quality on this if I can. And sometimes you have to kind of think about, okay, I have this idea, how best to execute. So that my opponent doesn't have a defense. So I think that rook d1 was a good move, and I was ready to play c4 and then d4 and break open the center. Um, so I think I was a little clever there. All right, here's my old pal Ears, who usually tries to out-weird me somehow. But maybe I'm not going to let him do it. Maybe I'm going to insist on being the more weird one. We'll see. D3. I think my instructions are B6. Yeah, B6 against everything but G3. So I warn you, if some comedian plays G3 on move 1, my instructions are not to play B6. Just warn you that I won't be cheating if I do that. That's the plan. All right. So all right. That's the plan so far. And then I don't know what exactly next. But interesting combination of moves for Ears, because one thing it hasn't done anything to help the bishop on f1. So I do suggest, a pawn move with the e-pawn, because that's the only way to develop that guy. Right? All right. I don't know if this is good, but I'm just going to power through here. And thinking is, I might get the bishop pair, but also I want to try to open things up a little on the dark squares. Try to create some openings. And I could start to think about if he doesn't take my knight, I could start to think about some sacrifice like knight g2, like if d4, knight g2, and then take on d4. But the sacrifices aren't so easy to make work, because he's got a lot of things protecting f3. So I don't know if it'd really be sound. So having announced my plan, this is my plan. But of course he's going to defend, right? He's just going to defend it now. But maybe bishop takes d2 will shake something loose, because I kind of hate to give up a dark squared piece to try to gain control of the dark squares. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah. See how that works. I think he's got to take with the knight. I think Ears listens to the audio when he plays, but yeah, I think, well, yeah, okay, I'm going to grab this guy now. I mean, king h2 is interesting because the knight was trapped, but then I was going to play rook f3. I think it would have been a very good exchange sacrifice. I'm actually fixing to make an exchange sacrifice anyway. Well, I'd have to say bishop g2, knight d4 is not really an exchange sacrifice, because he can't take the rook. But that's the plan. Although, I'm not sure if that's the most accurate way to play. I mean, I feel that any circumstances where I give up that rook and get that bishop, I think I don't think really too much can go wrong there, because I think the best he would be able to do would be to give back the exchange. So you can play bishop e5, but then he doesn't have that bishop blocking the g file, which means he's going to run into other problems. So I'm just gonna. I'm just prepared to give exchange if necessary, and so on. Okay, so he does that. All right. So, as long as my rook gets to sit there for free, Very good. But eventually, I'm going to threaten rook g3. I'll bring the other rook to f8. Don't resign. Well, okay, I guess it's kind of hard to find moves, but um, rook e3 maybe. I mean, I'm not threatening anything yet, so, you know. Happy August to yours. Okay, happy August to you as well. All right. Let's see. So, all right. So next week, I'm actually going to go to a chess tournament. I guess, you know, building on my success in the World Senior, I'm going to play some more chess. So, all right, Indiana Fat. So B6, I think, actually makes the most sense against C4. I'm playing the U.S. Masters in Greensboro, North Carolina, and kind of looking forward to that one because there's a lot of grandmasters. So I'm told that you can expect to play lots of grandmasters, even if you are a grandmaster. Ooh. I thought he was going to go and grab my bishop right away with a3. But since he opens a diagonal, I'm going to go f5 and get this pressure on the long diagonal. I have to say that in a disturbing number of games where I played b6 on move 1, I've won the e-pawn. But I think that maybe the people today will be too sophisticated for that kind of thing to happen. All right, so, well, actually, I don't know. If d3, I think I can actually take the pawn because the knight on c3 is pinned. I mean, he has this idea that he's going to maintain the knight as a defender because he's got the other knight, but he hasn't gotten my bishop off the board. So actually, maybe I'm going to win the pawn. Yeah, that's why I think he should have gotten a3 in right away, sooner than later, because this 1b6, it's hard to kind of try to play that's like a straight Botvinnik system. I know that a lot of players play c4 move 1 with the idea they want to play an English setup, and there are moves like b6 or e6 that sort of can upset those plans, and then you're better off trying to play more in the vein of a queen pawn opening than an English. Okay, so queen c2 defending the pawn. So that looks like he found the right move. Otherwise it looks like I'm going to win a pawn. But I think that he is kind of holding. Now I could take on e4 and then I could keep my bishop, but I don't know. I think I'm just going to castle. When in doubt, castle. Maybe knight c6 was interesting because if he takes the pawn, I could do something like knight d4, and otherwise maybe I could do something fancy with my knight. But what to do with that knight? Well, now he actually is defended on the diagonal, so you can take on f5. All right. Yeah, so actually it looks like he came out of this kind of unscathed. I don't really see what I did that was all that amazing. Take and I kind of hate to do this without him playing a3, but I want to put this knight on c6 and then come into d4, and the only way to do that, if I played knight c6 first, he would just take on f5, and then when I take on c3, take with something else. So this is a way to kind of get the knight into the game directly. But, well, I'm a long-time Nimzo Indian, Bogo Indian player, so I've probably had dozens and dozens of games where I gave up my dark squared bishop early in the game and usually tried to set up a dark square pawn formation. But I know very well that there are dangers in giving up that bishop. So he played d3. So that's a very smart move. So now he's just kind of keeping things blocked on the king side, and yeah. So I don't know that the knight on d4 means that much, but okay, it means something. And I guess he can go and trade it off. If he does it with the bishop, then okay, then he's got no more bishop, and then I get more influence on the dark squares. Rook e1 threatening anything? Don't think so. e5, I don't think it's ever going to be a threat. E takes f5, not a threat. Okay. Transfer this. But transferring is a little tricky because of, as it stands, as the queen goes to g6, e takes f5 is the tempo on the queen. Maybe knight g4 is something I'd want to do if I get a moment. And then maybe there's ideas of knight f2, bishop f4. Can play queen g6. Knight g4, e takes f5 worries me a little bit. Here is perhaps an unexpected move. I go here. Well, of course we're on move 13, and we're both down to half a minute. So, now it's less talking, more chalking. But my idea is that now I've got a threat of a knight fork. That's the key. Is I set up that knight fork. So it's a timely moment to get his queen off. I mean, in general, I'm not looking to trade queens in this situation. Bishop d6, yeah. Yeah, that didn't necessarily accomplish all that much for me, did it? All right. But at least I get his bishop off the board. I mean, unless he wants to play down in exchange, but I think he'll want to take my rook. So I got rid of his dark square bishop. And what now? This. Let's play on the dark squares, and also a little trap. A bishop f3. I take on g3. Ooh! Where are you going? Where are you going? Are you going back? No, you're going in. Where are you going? Okay. Of course, my knight is not doing anything right now, but of course he's really low on time, but I'm low on time too. All right. Oh, I haven't done this all that well, but yeah. Well, I managed to outplay him in the time scramble, which I'm supposed to do, but Indiana Fats played a real tough game here. As I say, like it's over, but maybe it's not. You never know. It's not over till it's over. Okay, it's over. All right. Thanks. That was interesting. Yeah, I really like that Queen H5. Every now and then in one of these games, I'm able to find a solution that I think is really interesting. Because in general, I'm not really looking to trade queens, but because of that fork on C2, the knight H5 had more impact. If he could just move his bishop away and there was no fork, then he'd have a position with two bishops. All right, so Virtuoso again. And let's see what is. Was this the D5 game? That was kind of interesting, but different approach. Yeah. I actually have. I think I have played B3 against the Sicilian tournaments a couple of times without great success, um, but I have looked into it as a possible thing to do, and I have to not sleep on my bishop. But well, he's not in trouble yet. Also have to be a little alert to knight g4s and stuff like that, but I can handle that. Okay, so in a lot of these close Sicilian positions, White is happy to make that trade because the knight can't jump into d4 anymore. All right, so what to do? I'm going to play queen e1. It's hard to say. Should just put the queen on e2, or should I try to come out to the king side? I'm going to try to come out to the king side, and I can play e5 to block, but I'm going to instead jump in and hit the bishop. And I think it's generally a strategical error if he lets me double the pawns there, which he did not. So I'm going to block that up with c4, because otherwise he might eventually play with b5 or something. It also keeps the bishop on e7 a little pinned down because that pawn on c5 blocks it, so that piece isn't that active. And I'm a little bit flexible here. I could take the bishop at some point, and then my knight can move. Right now, the bishop can move away, but only to go back to e8, and I'm not that worried about it because it kind of serves a function for me of getting it out of the way. All right, 1970 wants to challenge this diagonal, and I mean, if I take the knight, then I could try queen g3, but it just seems wrong on principle to take the knight instead of the bishop. The bishop is a stronger piece. So I'll do that. And now I'll do that, which really I just want to lure a piece to f6 so I can attack it with e5. I'm just thinking I'm going to play e5, but I'm picking up a tempo. And do I want to take? There's something to be said for taking, because then my knight has a square to. Yeah, actually, I'm going to do it that way. But also e5 and knight e4 right away was good. I mean, he can try to improve the square that his knight goes to. That's the downside of doing it this way. The other way, just e5 and knight e4, probably would have threatened knight f6. You could go king h8, f5. I mean, that was good too. And I just decided this time not to really think about it a long time. But I think Black's getting problems now because he's got this queen and rook lined up, but they don't really help where they are. Where to put the queen? I think h4. This is Virtuous says this is not good for me. Yeah, it's not. It's not. I did get an edge there. I think maybe he took on e4 prematurely because I wasn't ever going to take on d5. I don't think I was. So he could have kept attention, or maybe played d4. I could have blocked the bishop, but then okay, I maneuver on the king side. But taking on e4, I think that gave me a lot of space. f5. I think I'm going to have to take that. As much as I like the squares. What's he going to do about this? That'd be interesting. What's his idea? Queen f7. Okay, now he's starting to take the pawn. Maybe that was a good idea. So I need some kind of trick here, because I would be slightly embarrassed to lose my advantage completely here. That I just assume that it couldn't be that simple. All right, well, so what to do then? Make some kind of useful move, and not lose on time, which would be good. But yeah, that was very irritating. I don't know. All right, so okay, we made time advantage too. All right, so now I'm just going to make some random moves. Sorry to disappoint the fans, but I messed up. So now I'm just going to try to tie him down and, make it hard for him to move, because if that knight moves, I bring the rook into d7. This is the big idea. I got to believe that that's pretty strong. Although I'm allowing some possible counter threats. I'm banking that I'm faster. Also, I'm quite a bit faster on the clock here. And I think that this has got to be good. Mate threats and stuff. Yeah, I ran out of time. I complicated it at the end. I think it's winning for white, but not 100% sure. Rook f4 is possible. I'm not sure. I could always play queen e1 if I have to. All right, thanks for the game. Ernie 1 is up now. And I don't know if there was already an Ernie, so he had to be Ernie 1, or he was the original Ernie. Yeah, not too many people are really challenging me. I'm playing b6, and I really haven't had anything that you could call an Owens defense today. Basically, everybody is playing very conservatively. It seems like everybody plays d4 now, is looking to play a system rather than a straight d4. So this is a bit unusual in that I've got this sort of hedgehog position, but I haven't touched anything on my left side, so it's unclear where my bishop is going. All right, we'll go this way now. Well, the thing is, I'm just not going to take that knight on d4. So he's got these two pawns on c3 and e3, and they can't really stay there, because then he has a hard time developing. So I think it's really comfortable position for black. I mean, if I took on d4 and he took back with a c pawn, yeah, but there's nothing he can do to threaten me, to make me do that. All right, so to start with that, and then that was quick. And now I'm actually going to take with the pawn. Queen takes is very good too, but now I'm thinking to open the d file, because I'm going to use the open d file. Simple reason, right? Knight to d4. I don't know. He's moving that piece a lot, and he's not moving the bishop on c1. Sometimes it's good just to play with fundamentals. Just develop your pieces, not mess around too much. Because that bishop on c1, it may never get in this game. And if that knight goes back to c3, I'm ready to chop it, so he's running into problems. Knight g5 is in the air. All right, so first let's send this knight back to oblivion. And then knight g5 f3 is not that convincing. So I'll just attack the queen. And he may want to put it on f3. I'm not sure that it helps that much though, because then he couldn't play f3 with the queen there. But I think he just walked into knight g5. I mean, some players are listening and some players aren't. But I did announce the move knight g4, the intention of playing knight g5. So, White had these weak squares, that very weak f3 square needed to keep the queen, paying attention to it. Now my knight can jump into f3, and he can't stop it. Well, knight h3 is the big threat. It was a mate threat, so that's even worse. That he has to defend against that. So it's pretty bad. I think e4 was relatively best to block the diagonal, because then I give one of the checks. I'm not necessarily winning there, so I might just take the pawn on g4 and just be a pawn up. But the problem is that now this is going to be clang. Yeah, so I mean, that kind of thing happens a little bit in the Catalan. One of the reasons why a lot of times they keep that pawn back on e2, because if you trade off your light square bishop in the Catalan, sometimes you have that weakness on f3 if you're not careful, and a knight can try to exploit it. All right, moving Dutchman again. All right, I've got to do better this time. Got to do better. I didn't actually have any instructions on b6, but I assume that I was supposed to play b3. So moving Dutchman. Okay, moving Dutchman has a sense of humor. I give him that. b6, the sense of humor. Okay. All right. Well, I'll kick it. Knight e4. Was not expecting that. Interesting stuff. I'm looking at queen f3. It's an interesting move. I don't know about it. I'm going to try it, though. Even though I really need to win this game, I can't lose to somebody twice, right? In 1 week. But yeah, after knight takes knight, queen b7, knight c6, with the idea of trapping the queen, I wanted to play bishop b5, but of course it's hanging to the knight. So yeah, that wasn't really such a great idea. But I think something good should happen here. I've e6 moves are in the air. I don't know, should I check? I think I should check. Oh, well, I was going to play e6, but now I guess I'll just take this. Knight d7 is going to play e6 and then take the knight, and then queen h5. I guess I'm just going the prosaic direction here. Although Yeah, now he has some compensation. I probably should have done the e6 anyway. All right, I'll play e6. I'll go for this. I did not do this in the best way. Also, thing is, he's playing quickly, and I'm doing all this talking again. I haven't learned my lesson. I think maybe I should have played bishop c4 first. Oh, well, he chased me where I want to go. That's good. Okay. I guess I should I take with the knight. And grab, and I mean, there's an argument that my knight is better than my bishop, but I didn't like the idea that he could play bishop f3 at some point. But maybe I should have just, followed up with knight g5 and forking everything. Yeah, that was probably better. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I don't know. Is that a good move to get that in? I feel like it should be. But again, I'm going to have to pick up the pace here. But I want a pawn. No, did I want a pawn? Yeah, I want a pawn. Okay, so I have a good position here. Should start doing something with my rooks, I suppose. I'm getting ready to jump on that e7 pawn. I can't imagine it'd be that good for him to give up 2 pieces for a rook. Okay. f4. Almost equalize the time. Now what? a5. Okay. Yeah, sometimes repeating is a useful mechanism for, you know, thinking about, finding a new idea to try. And, when in a position where players are getting low on the clock, when you can introduce some new ideas, they can be very effective. Oh boy, that's an annoying move. He's playing the same. He says 2 can play this game. He's coming up with lots of annoying moves. Ay, ay, ay. game has been really hard. I don't know. These moves are a little bit too good from my point of view. Sorry. These moves are a little bit too good. Rook G1. I'm sorry. That was a little too good. That was a little too good. There we go. Wow. That was a struggle. That was a real struggle. All right. Well, well done, moving Dutchman. Oof. I was lucky to win that game. Oh boy. Yeah. I thought that would be pretty routine. That was far from routine. All right, here we got Proof 28H. All right, I'm getting very tough opponents today. Yeah, that's good. I like it. I like the challenge. Ah, not Bishop F4 again. Ay, ay, ay. All right. Well, I'm grabbing that bishop again. Okay. I don't think people should let me take the bishop like that. I'm just saying. Oh, you're not going to castle queenside. Come on. Sometimes people like to be flexible, and not castle right away. But I don't think it serves much purpose. There we go. Okay. Um, now, all right. Now I'll just leave that bishop there for a while. Well, I could take it any time, but I think I'll let it stew for a bit. Let it fester. All right. Let's expand over there. Proof 28H, making a lot of fast moves. And he's a new opponent. That's good. So the new guy shows up mid-session. I did let the bishop out of the box, but on the other hand, I did set up for this guy to come in, and hopefully that will work out for me. I think I could do some damage in there. Checkers. Actually, I was like pre-moving that, but yeah, I probably can't do better than grab and exchange. What am I looking for here? All right, so now, well, I think this should be technical now. Just play with an extra exchange. Liquidate. I'm back. This bishop ran away, and now I've got it. I got it pinned down. All right, take, and now I have another knight that can come to f4. Oh, this is sweet. Huh? Hitting him with the same issues. Yeah. Yeah, that's a little awkward. Ah. I did not see that move at all. So I'm thinking about king h8 and then f5. Now I can play f5 right away. Because his bishop is no longer hitting f5. So it worked out. And now what? I have an extra rook here. G2, I can take Schach. Rook G5 coming. He's thinking, oh, did I really do that? Yep, you did. Check. Okay, thanks, Proof 28. That was a curious game. I got the knight h5 in. You're very welcome. I got the knight h5 in, and the bishop escaped. And then I got to do damage with that knight instead of taking the bishop. And then I got the other knight around there and I did the same thing eventually. So kind of funny how that worked. All right. Thanks for jumping in, Proof 28. All right. Okay. That's going to be the last game for the day. So one loss and a whole lot of wins and a whole lot of fianchettoed bishops, queen bishops, one way or the other. Anyway, thanks for everybody coming out this morning, or at least morning for me. A lot of Europeans, I guess, not morning for them. And it's always a pleasure to play these games. I hope that everybody enjoyed playing them, watching them, learning from them, whatever. And yeah, it's fun, and I hope that everybody watches my my GM Joel's Chess Week recap as well, as I work really hard on that, and hope everyone appreciates it. Okay, so that was great. Another month in the books, and again, thanks everybody for coming out today, sitting at your computers, playing, and see you guys around. So this has been ICC's Banter Blitz. I'm Grandmaster Joel Benjamin. Take care, everybody.